Hey, we got her going. Okay, it's 8:01 Eastern Standard Time. Today is the 19th of April, 2022. This is Mark coming to you from Baker's Green Acres in lovely Marion, Michigan. And it's Tuesday. We've had quite the day here today. Not a real nice one. It was snowing again and blowing and cold and wet and no fun. Was very glad to have projects in the house to work on. But then in the last hour and a half, the sun has come out, and tomorrow it's supposed to be a pretty nice day. We're going to be up to 50 degrees tomorrow, and then Thursday, the pièce de résistance, we're going to have 61 degrees and partly sunny all day. So I'm looking forward to that one. And we actually have a project that we're going to start tomorrow that I'm pretty excited about. I got a couple of projects that I'm pretty excited about. And we're going to start working on our campground, actually. We're going to start clearing out spots for people to pull in their nomadic apparatus. So they'll have a place to park it. All right. Hey, Dave Smith, how you doing? All right, so today, and the Ice House is with us. All right. Nancy's sharing some pretty neat stuff over on the tribe. Appreciate that. It's good to see how other people are doing things. You know what? It's you get motivated and you do something, and it's nice for us to be able to see that. I like that. Today was an interesting day. Sean Wise is with us. Welcome. Keith S. is with us. Mr. Reliable. We know he's going to show up. I told you guys that I was scheduled to have an interview with Scott Kesterson. He is the creator of Bards FM. And you may remember years ago, I turned this crowd onto Bards FM, and I guess I'm a big fan. I got away from a lot of that. You know, I know that the country has problems, and I was searching for content people who are offering solutions. And, you know, there wasn't a lot of them around. There really wasn't. And there still isn't many around. There's a lot of people that are saying, oh, somebody else is getting all the heavy lifting done and everything's going to be all right. You hear that. Then there's the people that tell you what's wrong and sort of scream like, people better wake up. And I can't stand that because it reminds me of somebody screaming for an ambulance. Somebody get an ambulance! You know, somebody. Who's somebody? All right, Lenny Racine's with us. Dave's rubbing it in. 90 degrees here. That's probably too hot for me. Oh, Nancy, you're new at this, huh? It sounds like you moved back to the family farm. Okay, well, that's neat. That's pretty neat to get it going. It's pretty neat to get it going. I like the videos. But I was contacted by Scott Kesterson last week, and we set up an appointment to do an interview today. And he called here at, you know, we were scheduled for 9 o'clock, and true to form, he called me at 9 o'clock and 30 seconds and says, I'm going to be a couple minutes late. And I thought that was pretty nice, you know. I thought that was pretty nice. That made me feel comfortable with him. And he's a good interviewer. He's military as well, and I just feel very comfortable with him. He's an officer, and you know, I've always told you guys we poke a lot of fun at our officers, but we really do appreciate them, especially when we don't have them around. A lot of times when you're active duty and you have your officers around, it's like, I wish they'd go find something to do. But then, when you don't have them around all the time, you actually, I have officer friends, and I occasionally, like yesterday, called one of them and I said, hey, I want to run this past you. Because they have a little bit, they're trained to have a little bit more of a objective view, where I am intimately involved in a situation and I can't see everything that's going on. And so they are trained to stay objective so that they can make the best decisions. So I like that. I still appreciate my officers. I've told you a lot of times we really did love them, even though we did poke fun at them. I had a couple of them that weren't worth a damn, that's for sure. And their faces are still cemented in my mind. And they're probably not doing very well now. Anyway. So I did this interview with Scott today, and before we did the interview, we chatted for a couple of minutes. I wound up going, and if you want to find him, you can just do a search, Bards FM, and it will take you to Podbean. And all you have to do is go by the date. And he does, I think, 2 shows a day. And one of them is Fishers of Men, which is more theological, sort of Bible study, actually. And then the other one is Bards of War. And his approach to the situations that we're dealing with right now, he approaches it from the point of an infantry officer, and that's the way he thinks. And I've appreciated that about him. He doesn't hold anything back. He got thrown off YouTube a long time ago, and he holds nothing back. And I appreciate that. I try not to hold anything back either. But the interview or the conversation that we had beforehand, I questioned him on some things that I heard on the show from the 18th. And we discussed some of the things. And I'm hearing an awful lot of talk out there of food shortages. And we did bring this up yesterday. Actually, the word that I'm hearing that has never been associated with American history, it really hasn't, not in this country, is famine. Famine. And it seems as though there's a concerted effort to work that into a lot of conversations. I'm not thrilled about that. And I have probably gone on the record as saying, when the president comes out and says that, we're going to have food shortages, I have a tendency, as I think we've been conditioned to say, yeah, right. And then think of all the reasons why that probably ain't going to happen. But Scott turned me onto some things, some real hard data. And there was some parts of the puzzle that I think he's just missing, because it's beyond his knowledge base at this time, and I would have said, sir, respectfully, are you aware of this? And that's kind of what our conversation was. He referenced a fertilizer shortage, and that fertilizer shortage, a lot of those components come from Russia. I don't know if they're all created in Russia, but they're brought together in Russia, and then they're exported to the United States. The United States exports a lot of wheat back to Russia. We export a lot of machinery to Russia. And it's been a pretty good coexistence, for a lot of years. We've sent a lot of wheat to Russia, and they send us a lot of fertilizer. But that's not going to happen this year. And the fertilizer that is coming is not going to be near enough, and the expense on it is going to be very high. Now, is that going to happen? Time will tell. I mean, I don't use it. I am not in a position to have to use it. But listening to people that seem to know what they're talking about, yeah, it seems like it's going to be a bit of a problem. And it also seems like it's engineered, like they're wanting to have a food shortage. And that's why they're interjecting the word famine into our daily lives. I don't like it, but I don't like a lot of things that they have done. And I don't mean the US government, I mean components of, dastardly, gross, parasitic people that will do anything that they're asked to do for a price. And I believe that's what's going on right now. I believe it's a possibility that that's going on. Like this whole thing with Ukraine, I told you I'm kind of apathetic about it. I know I'm supposed to want to have Ukrainian refugees come stay in my house and hate Russians, but I don't believe everything that they're saying. And so I just can't go there. But for the president to put these sanctions against Russia, knowing full well, I mean, somebody must have said, hey, Mr. President, we do get a lot of fertilizer from them. And if we don't get it, we could be in trouble. But Bards played a clip off of Tucker Carlson. I think it was a couple days ago. And it was some guy in some state that farms 16,000 acres. And so, of course, he would know if he farms 16,000 acres that, we got problems because he can't get what he needs right now. And he said, hey, if we can't get this stuff, there ain't no magic wand to make this stuff grow. And I got to thinking about that. And I thought, how was this all done before that fertilizer, that NPK fertilizer? How did we do this? Well, I think we did it kind of like what we're doing. I kind of think that we focus on grass, we focus on fertility, natural fertility, long-term fertility. Like my garden out there, we've worked real hard at making that nice soil. If I didn't put compost on it this year, it'd be fine. It'd still grow really good, But with the fertilizer discipline, you put fertilizer on this year, you're probably going to need it next year, and so on and so on. And it becomes an addiction that the soil needs. The soil actually goes from soil back to dirt. And, with the fertilizer, it could be sand, and you can grow stuff in it so long as you put the fertilizer in it. Over the years, there's been lots and lots of firsthand reports coming to me that, hey, it's not working. It's not working anymore. And they've had to tweak the recipe that they're using out there for fertilizer just to get it to work somewhat. We know of a compost producer, a big compost producer, and they move a lot of their compost over into the thumb of Michigan. Michigan's shaped like this, and there's the thumb. They move their stuff over there, and the thumb is where they grow a lot of beets, a lot of sugar beets, fodder beets, for sugar production. And the soils have been depleted so badly with the use of fertilizer that they have had to resort to buying compost to put out on their fields. Imagine that. Right? So this thing that's happening this year, what could come of this, what they're saying could come of this, I have a tendency to say, it's put it in the category with the Wu flu. Baloney, it ain't going to happen. But I want to be careful with that. And Scott Kesterson came onto my radar via my phone. He called me, and so I gotta take what he says with a grain of salt. And I don't mean that. I don't mean taking it with a grain of salt. I mean, I got to take it. I got to look at it closer. So he shared some facts and figures with me today that I was like, oh boy, I wasn't aware of that. And I think that my lack of awareness of that is because I've been kind of like anything Sleepy Joe says, it's good for a laugh, but that's about it. And then I get to thinking, he doesn't come up with the things he says. Somebody puts it in front of him. And so they seem to be warning us of food shortages or famine. And okay, so my attitude on that now has kind of switched a little bit, and it's all right. I don't really want to be controversial to either side of this. I don't want to be saying they're full of baloney, and then certain people are going to say, oh, you don't believe what the president says, you don't believe the science, and then I don't want to say, hey, we better do this, we better get scared like everybody else and go to the store and buy beans and start stocking up with rice and stuff. And then the other side is like, I don't know, I don't want to be uh, on this issue. I don't want to get stuck on for or against. I want to kind of rise up above that and say, and this really makes sense to me. It's like, why are we even having this argument? I mean, this president, and maybe the last president too, I mean, claims to be concerned about the citizenry of this country, which would make a lot of sense, but that's not really what they're all about. And we know that now. They're not about that. They're working an agenda. And so he said there's going to be food shortages. And his next statement wasn't, I'm going to get some answers on this and I'll get back to you. We're going to come up with a solution. We're going to figure out what to do. We're going to have to work together. He didn't say that. He just said, it's going to be food shortages. Get used to it. Get used to it, people. Scott told me today, I didn't know this. He told me that, and I probably ought to check this out, but there's a level of trust in what he says. I don't think there's any reason to say something like this, like he wouldn't gain anything by making it up. But the Victory Garden was a World War I thing. A lot of the food was being funneled over to the front. America was involved in World War I, but a lot of people really weren't that involved. It wasn't like World War II. We were heavily involved in that. And then it was reinstituted in World War II by Eleanor Roosevelt. And it was so effective that after the war, the Food and Drug Administration discouraged it all kinds of different ways. Like they started going after, eggs, cholesterol, raw milk. Ooh, you don't even want to look at raw milk. You can get killed from looking at it. Bacon. I remember hearing, if you eat bacon and drink coffee, your chances of getting cancer and dying is 46% higher than it would be. I don't remember the 46%, but I remember them saying that. I remember them saying, butter, don't eat, it'll clog your arteries. Here, you want this, you want margarine. Dun, 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 dun. And so they discourage the type of food that really we need to be eating. And I'm not exactly sure why that discouragement happened. Who knows? It was a long time ago. And that's not the point. The point is, to me, the point is in this thing, we had an incident here in Michigan where the governor, who we elected, some people liked her. Some people actually voted for her. Said, well, during the Wu flu shutdown, you big stores that I'm allowing to stay open, I'm allowing the big stores to stay open. The mom and pop, you got to close because of the spread of COVID. She said, yeah, you can stay open, but you can't sell seeds. You can't sell anything for working in the garden. Close down the paint section. We don't want anybody fixing their houses up or anything like that. We don't want anybody making a gain during this time. We want everybody to sit on their butts. And of course, the liquor stores need to stay open. We can't interrupt anybody's drinking. And on it went. And what we should remember from that is that when this evil person, I mean, that is evil. I mean, that there's no way that you can characterize that as anything else. If we have a pandemic, it's sort of like if you're the leader, it's say, okay, let's get through this. Hey, while you're home, now's a good time to paint that house. Now's the time to make a gain on some of these projects that you weren't able to do. You know, let's make the best of this time, people. That's what a true leader would say. But instead, she was not a leader. She was working for the other side. And I don't see how you can characterize it as anything else. We got to shut down barbershops. We can't have people going to church. You can't have people going to the tavern to get a cool one. Oh no, can't do that. But these institutes that did shut down, that complied with her tyrannical directives, they weren't law. They weren't really even mandates. They were just, I want you to do this. And I hope people have learned, you know, what to say to the authorities that act outside of the law, because it was outside of the law. If you want us to do all this and you ask us to do it, for a while we will, but then after a while we realize that, hey, this whole thing is a pile of crap. You can't make us do it. And the law is on our side. It took longer than I thought it would for all of this stuff to go away. It's officially over now, I guess. But we have to remember this. That was a blow that was dealt to this society. We're going to feel the effects of the pandemic for a long time now. A lot of people are still suffering from the fear and the anxiety, broken relationships, all kinds of things. We are, even though, you know, I've built a resilient life around me, and the relationships that was a terrible thing, but the type of person that I am, I was able to prepare myself for it, and I was able to say, well, I'm going to do what's right, and there's not much more that I swam through it okay. But those same stores are now in control of the food. So do I think that there is going to be a legitimate shortage of food? Because of the fertilizing, I would have to say yes. I would have to say yes, if that fertilizer thing is correct. But I think there's a looming dangerous entity that's even worse than that. And I think that there's a possibility that the big stores that are still in business after the Wu flu, you know, with the little mom and pop ones, a lot of them didn't make it. The big stores will initiate, if it is directed, if it's mandated that they do this, they will initiate rationing. And I think that's the groundwork that they're laying right now. I think they're laying the groundwork to tell us that, hey, there's going to be food shortages, and it's problem, reaction, solution. The reaction is, we got to do something. Here's the solution. We're going to ration food. And we have to do this. We have to do this because these people over here will go in and they will buy it all up. You know, these frickin' preppers. You're probably a damn Republican too. And so the rationing will begin. And what that does, if you think it through, if you just think it through, let's say that you are totally dependent on the store, the Myers, let's say, and you work, you're on your way home, you gotta stop and get some grub for your family. You go in and they say, oh, you can only have one box of macaroni and cheese. Well, I got 4 kids at home. I'm sorry, sir. That's all you can get is one box. It's rationing. There's 50 boxes on the shelf. Yeah, but it's rationing, and that's all that you can get. And so the stores could, I'm not saying this is going to happen because I don't know, but I see that they are laying the groundwork, and Scott was quite adamant that a lot of groundwork has been laid. Of course, we didn't have a thorough conversation, so everything that he knows, I am not in the loop as much as he is. But yeah, that's what could happen, and I think you have to be aware of that. That could happen. So, okay, so they create a problem, creates a reaction in us, and then they say, well, here's the solution. By golly, you can shop on Tuesdays and Thursdays, but you're still limited to just a handful of things. But that's not enough. Yeah, I know, but it's rationing. So that's the best we can do. And of course, it'll open up all kinds of black market, and the politicians, they're not going to suffer at all because they're kind of in on it. None of them will do any investigation. The media will do no investigation, and the people will suffer. I mean, that is the MO that we've seen. So I'm saying that's a possibility, right? And that's maybe I'm painting a pretty ugly picture, but we've dealt with these people for a while, and we've seen this. I think that people should realize that this place where we're at right now, we didn't just get there in the last 2 years. I firmly believe now, when I go through this paperwork right here, this is the original, and I mean original, declaratory ruling that, had I not gone through this problem with the state of Michigan, I would not know all the things that I know. I wouldn't understand how they operate and what their goals are, right? Because it didn't seem to really make any sense. The feral swine thing that we went through, what they wanted to do was ensure that there were no pigs being raised in other than confinement. There you go. Gotcha. And if they had accomplished that, all of these backyard pigs, all of these small farm that have animals it would be gone. All the swine would be gone. And if they got that done with the swine, I believe that what we're in the onset of right now, I believe they would have had a much easier time. And I want to go through this. I got an article here, actually 2 of them, and they're in very notorious publications here in Michigan that I think when we go through them, I think you'll see what the story is. I think that this program right here, this invasive species program, I think it was part of where we are right now, even though the span on that is over 10 years. They are very methodical. They have a plan, and they are using their people to accomplish it. And I'm sorry, but most of their people come right out of these universities here. So are they going to accomplish it? How did they do with the Wu flu? Did they did a lot of damage to us, but in a lot of ways, they kind of woke people up, and they've got people a little angry. They've got people on edge. And I don't know about you, but I'd like to take some scalps because of the Wu flu. And did they do it effectively? I don't know. I think if it was contrived and they wanted to get to their solution, I don't think they really got as far as they wanted. That's my opinion on that. I think it was thwarted because they said, you will not assemble. And we said, screw you. We will assemble. We will talk about this. We will not wear face masks. We won't do it. They said, you will not plant gardens. We said, we will plant gardens, right? Americans typically have been very ungovernable people, and that's the way it is. That's the way it is, and that's the way it's going to be if I have anything to do about it. So, but in this case, I don't want people to think that uh, I've approached all of these problems in the past is the way I'm going to hit this one. It's a bunch of crap. We're not going to, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. I think that, okay, this is what they're saying is going to happen. We need to step up to the plate. You did not hear after the president, the commander in chief, comes out and says, going to be food shortages. You did not hear the Michigan Department of Agriculture and Rural Development, MDARD, Parasite 101 class. You did not hear them come out and say, you know what? We've got to find some solutions to this. No, they just echoed what the president said. There's going to be problems. And if you ask me, I think they've piled on. And I want to go through this article here in a minute. Remember last night when I was talking about problem, reaction, solution? They layer their operations. They do. So the president says, hey, it's going to be food shortages. And what comes out next from the state of Michigan? Not that they originated, they're a bunch of errand boys, but they say, oh, gee, the bird flu. And then when I read a couple of these articles, you can see that they have started the operation. You know, they're going to go to their friends, Detroit Free Press and the, you know, M Live. They're going to go to them, and their little minions there are going to write stories about, you know, a backyard flock that they had to destroy all of the animals. It's here. The bird flu. It's here. But this is a repetition because you remember the bird flu was here in 2005 too. I don't know if people caught that. I was doing pastured poultry at the time, so when it came out, it was like, hey, you can't raise chickens any place where another bird could get to it. And at the time, I thought, hey, that makes sense. But now, after I know the Department of Agriculture as intimately as I do, they're a bunch of liars, thieves, and beggars. They are not concerned with the environment. They are not concerned with making sure that Americans are fed, you know, nutritional whole foods. You never hear them talk about that. They're interested in control and other weirdness. You know, I don't know any agency that has more gender confused people than the Department of Agriculture. It seems awful strange, doesn't it? DNR too. There's an awful lot of gay people at the DNR. I don't know. I don't get that. But so my approach to this, and I suppose people can do what they want, but my approach, I'm going to try and measure it the best I can, is create an alternate system. And I've been saying this all along. We need to have an alternate system that they have no control over. You know, like, okay, let's say Sleepy Joe is telling the truth for once in his life. There's going to be food shortages. Okay, well, here I'm going to plant a little bit more. I'll put a few more animals on. And it just makes good sense to me because I'm running a farm business. So the more pigs that I sell, the better I do. Then I can get a new roof on my barn. I can do some stuff, you know. So food shortages, I'm not gonna experience that. And you may say, oh, are you not subject to the same things that the big growers are subject to? And the answer is no, I'm not, because I'm not doing the fertilizer thing. I'm not monocropping my property. I am actually cropping native grass and some non-native grass too. But grasses, you know, they nativize, I guess, you know, and then we harvest the grass off. We make hay. That is a very resilient crop. It can get burned really, really brown, but it will still come back. And I don't think that you're going to get the same result as you get by feeding soybeans and corn and whatever else they feed the cows. You won't same amount of milk, but we still get really nice milk. And all we feed is grass, and then a little bit of sweet feed just to get the cows to come in, just to sweeten the deal for them, but it's compared to the amount of forage that they take in, it's really nothing. But if we had to do without that, we could, and we would still be producing milk, and we would still be producing beef. By the way, grass-fed beef, I got to tell you, I've had both, and recently I've had some of the best non-grass-fed beef that you can find. And I got to tell you, I'm a grass-fed guy. It's just, the friend of mine that said, I don't like grass-fed beef. It tastes too hay-mowish. It tastes too mooey, is what he said. And I thought, oh, gee, I guess I'm not aware of that. And then when I had the beef that they produce, although it's very good, and I'm not throwing stones at it, but when you get used to the grass-fed stuff, going to the silage-fed and heavy grain, it just, you take that bite of that nice red beef, nice and rare, and it leaves you hanging like, I'm waiting, where is it? Where is it? I told him, no, I'm staying with the grass-fed. And he said, have you got a couple more for sale? I got somebody that wants one. So the answer here is, yeah, possibly what's going to happen with this fertilizer thing could be a rude awakening that you're not going to do this agriculture the way you've been doing. It's not healthy, for one thing. Putting all that fertilizer down, where does that stuff wind up? Come on. And although the DEQ, Department of Environmental Quality, will say, well, it's acceptable amounts. Well, in 1950, what was the acceptable amounts of it? There wasn't any. And our rivers ran free. Now they're so choked full of vegetation that they're all over the place, and the fish are gone. You wouldn't drink it. You certainly, you don't swim in it, and you're certainly not going to drink it. They've done a lot of damage, but the DEQ says, nope, nothing here, because they run defense for industrial agriculture. That's their job. I shouldn't be drinking this coffee this late, but I can tell you what happened. Doing this interview with Bards was, I felt like, I come on here and I'm doing this, and I'm doing the things that I'm doing because I feel it's what I'm supposed to do. It is my mission, right? And I feel like on a much higher level, I feel like this is what I'm supposed to do. And sometimes, hold on, I gotta close this door. People forget that I'm on the air. And sometimes, honestly, sometimes you feel like, I'm not getting anywhere. I don't know if I'm getting this job done or not. Maybe I am in the wrong place at the wrong time. I don't know. Maybe I should be doing something else. And then the phone rings, and it's Scott Kesterson, like one of my heroes. And he wants to interview me. And then I get to talking to him, and he says, you know what you're doing is what we need to do. And he starts to tell me the control that they had over us because they control our food. They could tell you that you had to wear a mask going in Myers, and you got to comply or you don't get any food. If they can tell you to put a mask on, I think that the end goal was to tell you that you're going to have to present documentation that you've taken an experimental, what. That didn't happen. It didn't happen. I think they wanted us in masks, just like the Muslim women for eternity. I think that's what they wanted. That's what goes on when you go to the Orient. China especially, they're all wearing masks. So they're like non-people, and if you don't speak the language, they're kind of like non-people anyway, a lot of times. But I felt the same thing here when somebody would have a face mask on. All I could see is their eyes. They were kind of non-people to me, and we weren't relating. We weren't doing what we're supposed to do. All of this created here for communication. And then here mankind says, we'll cut that all out. And then you just have to communicate with a pair of eyes. It was diabolical. It was very, very, very bad. I could feel it. I could feel the spiritual oppression. I could feel it. Like when I would go, I mean, I like people. I really do. And there was this one situation. I went and I was buying stuff for my wife. And the lady at the counter, I had seen her, but I'd never seen her face. She started working there. This is at the Evil's Basement. And I could see everything about her, but I couldn't see her face. And I'm sad to say that I said to myself, I don't like this lady very much. She seems like a really you-know-what. And then I'd have to go in there again, and I'd be, well, there's old you-know-what. And then when the mask thing kind of went away, I mean, I never did it, but some people were drinking the Kool-Aid, and so they were doing it. And maybe the store owner wanted them to do it or something. I really don't know. I was in there with my wife, and there she was, and she had a very pleasant smile on her face. I felt really bad. And I even said to her something like, this is the first time I've seen your face. I appreciate it. And I just realized what a spiritual blow that had been to us all that time, all that, for nothing. But we did learn, and we cannot believe that this scrap is over. We got to believe that this whole, or I believe, you can believe what you want, but I believe, the feral swine thing, I believe the bird flu thing, and many, 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 many other things are all lined up to get us to a place where we really don't want to go, where we're not free people. We're dependent on a social score, and there's total surveillance, even out here in the perimeter. I mean, why do they have surveillance cameras in the town of McBain? I really, I've asked that question. Oh, well, we did have a bank robbery here. Okay, yeah. But come on. They want to do a total, control of the citizenry. And I don't think that's what we want as citizens. I certainly don't. And people have resisted it. And I think people are going to continue to resist. And the ones that are trying to make this happen are the mercenary force that come out of the universities and go to work for these agencies. They're not dedicated. They're only there because they're getting a paycheck. A lot of them wouldn't believe this if they were presented with this, because they learn a healthy dose of skepticism about everything except the religion of education that they get at the universities. So will they get away with it? No, I don't think they will. And I think what we need to do is ramp up our food production and everything else. So we've taken the opportunity for them to do that away. I'm not really dependent on that. If the people at Myers give me a hard time, see, I'm not going in there, and they won't get my business. Was that the way it'll be forever? No. The board of directors at the hospital up in Traverse City, they wanted everybody to be face masked and vaccinated going in there. And they had people just said, bye, and walked out. And the board of directors, it's a private company, that hospital's a private company, said, oh, well, we wanted to comply and play the game, the woke game, but not if we're going to lose money. Not if I'm not going to be able to make the payment on my Mercedes. Then in that case, the heck with the masks, just let them do what they want. We don't care. We know it's BS. And now, in one of the most liberal places in the state of Michigan, you can you would think that, like, in the stores up there, they're right militant, because it's kind of a weird, sort of a gay area, and they're like social justice warriors, so they're all a bunch of Karens up there. But as far as the hospital goes, no, they don't have to do that, because the people just said, no, we're not going to do it. We have a lot of power. But why are we not producing our own food? Why are we not more resilient? Have we not learned anything through this? I'd say we have. And in my conversation with Scott today, I said that we're going to need more people to step up. If industrial agriculture completely fails, which it could, they're trying to create food shortages, right? And industrial ag is surviving because of free money. They're getting free money. They're trying to inject free money into the small farms community as well. Hey, sure you don't need this? Sure you don't need this? How would you like to have this? But then they own you, right? Whether you know it or not, they own you. And when they no longer have money to inject into the system, what will happen? Will those subsidies come to a close? And will those farms be forced to just shut the doors? And the production that they were making, will that end? Is that going to contribute to the food shortage that they're trying to create? I don't know. If I was them, that would make sense. That would make sense. But anyway, I think that regardless of how we feel about this, I think we need to double down. That's my message right now, is I think we need to double down on this. That's my gut, and I have to pass it on. I'm not saying let's get afraid. I'm saying let's get busy. Yeah, that's my message for tonight. So let me go through and see what you guys have written, see if there's anything I need to respond to. It's kind of a short message tonight. There will be no show tomorrow. We've deleted the Wednesday show. That's all a part of getting lean and mean. I did ask Scott if he would like to come on our show for an interview so you guys could meet him. That would be pretty neat. All right, Dion's with us. Good evening. Sorry you've been AWOL. You have, son. Oh, by the way, we have a bowl now. It's not mine. It's Joe Higgins's bowl. But he's staying here for a while. He's going to get all my cows pregged. And then we'll get Susan Greaves. And then maybe he can spend some time down at your place. I think it's going to be a community bull. I think he's going to rove. Okay, the Ice House is saying no reason to get scared. Just prepare. Right on. The Barn Geek is with us. A lot of dairy farms around here, they all spray manure. They don't seem to be all that dependent on chemical. I don't think that that's correct, Aaron. The practice of liquidating your manure is really counterproductive because what would be nice if you had all the manure that they pull out of the barns, if they put it in windrows and then went down it with a compost turner and made it into really nice active, and then took that out on the fields and sprayed it. Then they're preserving the bacteria in the soil. I mean, the bacteria in the compost, and you're also adding to your sandy soils out there, you're adding organic material. Why don't they do that? They don't do that because a lot of them were offered money from the USDA to build manure pits. Well, why do we need a manure pit? Well, because you fill that manure pit with manure, and then you just keep pumping the water to it, and it makes this slurry, and then you pump it into a tanker, and you take it out and you spray it on the field. The only problem with it is it dormants the bacteria that's in that manure, or kills it. It's too wet. It's just too wet. So they were doing this knowing full well that we're wasting the kick that we could get out of this manure by putting it back on the fields. But if we do it this way, we can get free money from the USDA to build this pit. You know, it's got to be 120,000, but I could probably get it built for about 60. So there's a little bit of profit there, you know, and then, well, we're going to have to buy some tankers. They're offering free money for that too. So we'll get some tankers. And, you know, it was not thought out by people who are so, it was thought out trying to make nefarious gains. Right? So when you spread manure like that, they're also putting down, well, it's not like because you spread liquid manure, you don't need chemical fertilizers. You wouldn't if you composted it, but they don't do that. And I've had discussions about that with people, and they say, "Oh, well, you know how much time it would take us to compost all that? Yeah, those are man hours, right? You have to put a man on a tractor to do that. But how much is it costing you? What's the cost to the environment? What's the cost in fertilizers that you're buying in lieu of the benefit that you would get by composting? Well, the USDA isn't giving out money for composters or for a compost turner. Oh, imagine that. I wonder why. I wonder why. You know, when you take a lot of money from these agencies, the USDA especially, and you say, well, I think I'm going to try something different this year. I think I'm going to grow hemp out on my fields instead of corn. They're going to say, well, then I don't think we're interested in loaning you money. They want you to do this. They want you to do this. Why? Because it fits into the program, right? If you start growing hemp, then you're not buying silage handling equipment. And Mr. John Deere isn't going to like that, right? So everybody's scratching everybody's. It's a big, you know, what would you call it? It's crony capitalism. It's a big club, you know. And if you can enter in at some level, of course, there's a lot of backslapping that has to happen too. And some of us aren't good at that. Okay. Nancy's saying they will ration. They will ration. They are corporate entities, so they go with government policy. Right on. They see already, it's not enforced, but there are times you are limited to 4 butters, etc. Yeah. Okay. Political puffin, PhD. Hey, long time no see. Homeland Security secret 2014 release documents show it all. Coming for total lockdown. And I'd like to see that. If you could PM me that, I'd like to analyze that. I don't always jump on that stuff because, you know, it seems as though they have to get the, you know, when people start backing away from the fear, they have to, oh, you know, they're going to be, I was supposed to go speak at something over the Memorial Day weekend. This really bothered me. And it was out in Oregon. And you know, and yesterday, and we were discussing it, deciding if we're going to go. We finally came to consensus. Okay, we're going to go. They're paying for our airfare and paying speaking fees and stuff, so we're going to go. It's Memorial Day weekend, but hey, it was going to work for our mission. It was going to work into our mission. And I get a text from her yesterday, and she's saying, "No, because they're going to lock us down again." Now we don't bend the knee to governmental tyranny, but we're going to cancel our event because they're going to lock us down. And I was like, really? Sounds like you're bending the knee to them to me. I was really disappointed, really disappointed. But that's the way it goes. People get intimidated by these things. Okay, Barngee is saying when they say food shortage, what they mean is Doritos shortages. I wonder why you say that, because when Jill and I, we were in town and we were hearing all this food shortage, so we just said, hey, let's walk in and see what it looks like in the store. And all of that stuff, all the garbage food, it was loaded. This was a Sunday evening, but the meat counter, oh, there was a lot of things missing. The good, supposedly good stuff. Okay, the ghost is saying only 10 likes. Come on now. Yeah, 19 people here. Let's get some likes. Did I like it? I don't know if I can like it. I would like it. Where's the like button animation? I don't see it on my screen, you guys. Animation. Okay. Well, thanks for liking us. Plant lots of potatoes. They are easy to grow, can be fed to livestock, and you can survive on them if necessary. I totally agree. Aaron, do you know when we're supposed to plant them? I think we're supposed to plant them in July after the potato bug hatch. If anybody knows that. Okay, Debbie's with us. Okay, I gotcha. Lane Buck 52. Get ready for forced lockdowns as China is once again the boilerplate for what comes next. Latest articles on health impact news. Ugly stuff happening over there. I agree, but I don't like the way you're saying that. It's like, hey, get ready, it's coming. No, there's an offensive coming, and get ready to do what you're going to need to do to thwart them. Who are they going to get to do it? I know in China they can get people to do that. Oriental people are terrible to each other, but it really is time in this country. Okay, if you're going to get people to come here and destroy my garden, right? Because of course, COVID is it's spread through the gardening practice. No, no, I will be telling you who they are and where they live. I will telling you what we need to do. No, you're not going to do that. And I think this is the point: is Americans need to rise up and say, this small percentage of people that want to do this lockdown thing to us, we're not going to allow it. We're just not going to comply. Peaceful non-compliance. Hopefully peaceful. I mean, but the peacefulness of this is, it's up to them. If you guys want to get rough, hey, you're dealing with a massive population. And if you want to get rough, I don't think that's a good idea. And they know that. So who are they going to get to do this? They're going to get their little food inspectors to come and do it? I hope so. Okay, let's so no, I don't like the way you're saying that. Get ready for it because it's coming. It should be more like, oh, this should be interesting. A bunch of farmers up against a bunch of bureaucrats. This should be real interesting. Bring it on. That should be more the attitude. It's like, oh, is this what you want to do? You sure? Okay, this will be interesting. You live here too. Okay, does anybody else see the snippet from Shanghai where the man rounded up COVID detainees, said, don't you know we're going to be at war with America soon? Scary little video clip. No, I didn't see it. And, I did see a clip of guys in hazmat suits, really, really cheesy hazmat suits that were out destroying somebody's garden, with a shovel, and they were taking it through. I mean, I would have been out with a shovel and I would have beat the guy over the head. I seriously would have. And I think that if they've got a group of people that will do that, then they are going to be accosted, and probably in a very unnice way. I don't think we're going to take this like, well, I guess we're going to have to starve. I don't think so. I just don't think so. Maybe you can pull that off someplace else, but I don't think you're going to get that done in America. For one thing, I think they were supposed to disarm us a long time ago. That didn't happen. They were supposed to, starve us of a lot of nutrients, and that hasn't happened. They were supposed to make sure that we all took this shot and would have weakened the population even further. That didn't happen. So what makes you think that they're going to be able to do this? I really don't. I don't appreciate the way that's being put. I like if you say, I think they're going to try this, but good luck. I will follow you home. I will follow you home. So if you're going to do this, prepare yourselves, right, for whirlwind. We're not going to allow it. Okay. Yeah. Nancy brings up, well, maybe that's not the point you're making. The ghost says it was on one of Canadian Prepper's videos. Yeah, and somebody said, I've gotten sick of Canadian Prepper, clickbait, fear porn, every video now, unsubscribed. Well, I'm with you. I'm with you. It's like, no, if we control our own food, their objective is unattainable because that was their control. Control the food, you control the people. They want control of the people, but we're not going to deny them control of the food. And that's what anyone can farm is. That's why this isn't, oh, wouldn't it be nice to grow some potatoes? No, this is mission essential work. If they control the food, they will control you and they will herd you into cattle cars. They will. You can't allow that. You have to deny them that. Do you realize, I know that I've harped on this. When my family went through this was the invasive species order. This is where they wanted me to dispossess my pigs. They wanted everybody in the state of Michigan who raised pigs outside to dispossess their pigs, basically because they said so. And they said that our pigs were an invasive species. They said that, not just ours, they said that pigs could become feral, and feral pigs are an invasive species. Therefore, you need to get rid of your property. And it made very little sense. It still doesn't make sense until you figure in the bigger picture. You have the forces of good and the forces of evil. The forces of good want to take care of humanity, want to see humans be the best they can, prosper, be exceptional, propagate more people who take care of more people. The scum-sucking parasite class that put this together, the Department of Agriculture people, are not the Department of Agriculture. They are the Department of Anti-Agriculture. Oh, Mark, they're lying about who they are? You're damn right they're lying. They lie about everything. With that, let me go to this article. And see, this is the reason why I was so floored by going on Bard's, is he is calling it the way it is. They are at war, right? And they are trying to get at us any way they can. And the Bible even says the God of, Aaron, got to help me with this one. Man's God is his belly, right? So if you control that, it makes complete sense. Maybe I've got that one wrong. But if they can control the food, they can control us, and that's what they want. And their idea of how my life ought to be and my idea of how my life ought to be, two different things. They would like to take my kids away from me when they're 4 years old, put them in state schools, feed them their lunch, their dinner, tell the kids that if I discipline them in any way to tell on me, and to make sure that if I say certain words around the house that they turn me in and stuff like that. And that's not our way of doing things. They basically, I think it is It's Nazism 2.0. I believe that's how it is. And so they have an agenda here. And yeah, if you have questions, you can put them in all caps. That'd be nice. So we're at a place where this is serious. This is serious business. So let me show you this article that okay, this was in the Detroit News, right? So there's quite a few publications in Michigan that are just the mouthpiece of the machine, right? And the machine is got people in every single, the deep state. They have people in every single department. They have a lot of them that are in elected officials, and yeah, we elect them because they control the voting with Dominion voting, and that's pretty sad, but it's true. But here we go. Okay, this is the Detroit News, and it's avian influenza has been confirmed in a backyard poultry flock in Livingston County. The State Department of Agriculture and Rural Development said Friday, bringing to 4 the number of southeastern Michigan counties where the virus has been detected. The premise where the bird flu was found is under quarantine, and the birds have been destroyed to prevent further spread of the virus, the department said. The flock contained about 20 birds of multiple species. The finding underscores the ongoing high risk for the disease in Michigan. The department said, urging poultry owners to implement every strategy necessary to protect their flocks. Bird flu can spread in various ways, including by wild birds through contact with infected poultry, equipment, clothing, shoes, We are strongly encouraging all flock owners to take steps to better protect their poultry and reduce the spread of this disease. Okay. On and on it goes. But what they're doing is they're preparing the public for something, right? Department of Agriculture, who should be saying, okay, we need to get going on these backyard flocks because of the food shortage that's coming. They're saying, no, you need to be responsible and not raise poultry. Well, then where's it going to come from? They're not saying that. All right. So they're at war with you. And you have to understand that. That is what they are doing. So when you do farm, when you do create calories by the sweat of your brow and the brain that you have, you put it together and you create calories, you are working against them. Now you may be saying, well, Mark, don't you believe the science? Should I? At this point, are you, how many times do you have to be lied to and not react to that in a way that's going to be beneficial to you and your family? As a soldier, your job is to stay alive to fight another day. You're going to listen to these people? Are you out of your minds? And I don't think, I know you're not, but if people were to say that to me, they're never going to interview me again, not after what we've been through. Would one of them want to come on this show and give us an explanation? Would they be willing? Some investigative reporter wrote all this down and put this out. But the nature of an investigative reporter is, all right, well, show me the data. Well, you're not a scientist. Well, yeah, but if you are a scientist who is worth a damn, you should be able to explain this to me. So even me, a journalist, could say, this guy's not lying. But that's not what these rags are about. They're about the propaganda, right? In some states, they're actually saying that saving seeds, very irresponsible, because in seeds that you save, you don't know what you're doing. You're not a pro. You could be creating pathogens, and somebody could die. I mean, it's more detrimental to the world than making making stew out of a bat. That's a bad thing too. Okay. China internet is pretty much locked down, so anything you see was released. Exactly, Nancy. Exactly. You remember during the Wu flu, you'd see these Chinese dropping over in the street. I don't think we saw any people drop over here except after they'd taken the shot, and then they'd be up on a microphone or something and they'd drop, or out on a soccer field and they'd drop. Yeah, if we're seeing it, it's released for the fear factor. The word I get, and I can feel it, is Wu flu is over. They've run that as far as they're going to. This is just a few parting shots that they're doing, you know. Okay, Vindicti says the same thing that I feel about Canadian Prepper. I don't listen to him anymore. I just don't. I'm going to listen to people, and I'm going to be the guy too that's saying, here's a solution. We have a problem. I don't want their solution, but I can offer a solution to it. And I know for me and my family, I'm going to do what I think is best for me. And I'm not going to think it would be the best thing to do, but I'll do it tomorrow. I got reruns of Oprah Winfrey that I've been wanting to catch up on, No, I'm going to do it. And I always do it. That's the thing about people like us is we have an idea, we think it up, and we execute it. That's very threatening to certain people. You got to know that. It really is very threatening to certain people. Yeah. Okay. Their destiny is destruction. Their God is their stomach, and the glory is in their shame. Their mind is set on earthly things. Yeah, do you think we were brought here for a reason? I can't think this is just coincidence. I feel as though the Band-Aid is going to be ripped off. I know that the way my grandparents conducted themselves, I spent a lot of time at my grandparents' house. They lived in Hyde Park, Boston, on like a pretty good sized city lot. I mean, it seemed really big to me. And my grandfather had a massive garden. He was feeding everybody. That's just what he did. And my grandmother's pantry, I'll never forget it. There was shelves like that he had built, and they had curtains on them. And it was like a room that you walked in. They called it the store, and it was at the back of her kitchen. And it was just full of stuff. It was like being in a store, right? Okay, Barn Geek, Philippians 3:19. Keith is saying Barn Geek, yes, very true. Trust the science and Cobra Venom jab. Yeah. Okay, but I think we'll be all right if we just do this, if we just prepare, and we not just preparedness, of course, is short term and long term. If I didn't have a bunch of rice and beans here and many other things, I would go get it right now. But I do, so I'm not gonna. But I'm thinking tomorrow I'm going to be working on this, and this. So this year I'm going to step up my support role for those around me that that don't know exactly what to do. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to step up my role. So a couple of things that have come up. Good, getting your chicks there, Vindicti. That's the way to go. We've got our first 250 of them going. We have our first butchering day this coming Friday. Yeehaw! Can't wait to get back in the saddle of butchering chickens. Yeehaw! Not really, but it's good. It's honest work. But my son Joe is on a piece of property over about 20 miles away, and we thought today it would be really nice content to be able to show, okay, here's a piece of property. It's not fertile. It's pine. It's kind of scrubby, kind of swampy. But he couldn't say no to the deal. So we helped him set up a yurt in there, and him and his wife are living in there. But now we're going to go in and we're going to say, okay, let's turn this into a functional homestead. And we went through it today, what we need. We got to do something about the fertility of the ground, because it'd be very difficult to grow anything, any place on that. And so we're going to do some raised beds, and then we're going to start with some of the scrub pine that we're cutting out. We're going to biochar it, and we're going to bring in compost from this farm. We're going to put up a water tower so he can have drip irrigation for his raised beds. Let's see, we're going to build a butchering area, because we're going to fence the whole thing in. It's 40 acres. We're going to fence it in so he can run some steers in there so we can get the manure from them. We will be bringing on hay from here, from this farm, to his. And we're going to document this whole thing. And I think it'd be really interesting for people to see it, because you might be saying, well, I get it, but I don't really know where to start. I think this will be helpful. So it's what we can do. It's what we can do, and we're going to do it. And I encourage other people to do the same thing. Okay, don't get scared. Get busy. All right. Appreciate everybody coming by. We will see you on Thursday. If there is any subjects that you want to be discussed on Thursday, I would love to accommodate you. Otherwise, I'll come up with something. Pasture Poultry class is going to be June 11th this year. We had a good time last year and had a bunch of people that came. So the class goes something like this. We talk chicken tractors in the morning. I'll have one that is nearly complete, and we can look at it, and we talk about building techniques, how it works, why it works this way, answer questions, head out to the poultry field, move some tractors, show off the watering system, show off the feeding systems, talk about it. Then we'll be collecting up birds from out there so everybody gets a chance to handle them. We'll crate them up, bring them into the shop, go from the staging area at the shop directly to lunch. And we're having barbecued chicken for lunch. And then from lunch, we go right back to the shop, and the birds that we picked up, we're going to slaughter. So everybody will get plenty of processing experience. So you think about a business model like this, right? We're going to show people how to butcher chickens, right? So we're going to have a class. The class costs X amount. I don't remember what it is. It's fair. You come on, pay me money, and then you butcher my chickens for me that go in my freezer. And oh, before you leave, would you like to buy some? What a business model. What a business model. I mean, that's how the pig thing works. It actually works that way. And it's actually pretty cool. And I'm upfront about it. I mean, I don't believe in this whole there ain't no money in farming, because there is. You think about, if you raise livestock, let's say you raise pigs like we do, if you grow all your own food for them, you don't have a lot invested in the feeding of pigs. You really don't, because you can grow so much food. Like if you grow pumpkins, if you grow turnips, if you grow sweet potatoes, things like that. No, not sweet potatoes, but sugar beets. I mean, it's really cheap to grow that stuff, especially if it doesn't have to go for presentation at a store. It doesn't have to be clean, anything like that. They'll eat it. And so you don't have a lot invested in them. And then you do the processing on it. And let's say that stuff is going out the door at $7.50 a pound. Every pound that goes out, it's a pound. It's not big. And $7.50 comes in. You're kind of staggered at the amount of profit that you make, honestly. And we put the work into it. We have the expertise to do it. Why shouldn't we be compensated? You certainly would pay that much if you go to the store, but you never know where the money goes to, But when you have a farm that you do business with and you start seeing, hey, buildings going up here, and hey, there's a wash station over here. Hey, he put a road in here, we can easily access it. That's because you're doing business with me, and I'm making money. It's not a bad thing. It's actually a good thing. I would love to see my customers want to see this place prosper. And we want the same thing for your properties too. We do. That's the whole idea of this trainer. Okay. Everybody's cutting out. I guess I will too. What is Gulpfant? Gulpfant. I don't know what that means. Good night. Guten Nagen. Okay, Bryce was with us tonight. Okay, cool. All right, we'll see you guys. Good night.